Hi everyone. Last series we had spoken enough on RPA and process automation and a little bit on the generative AI as well. Today we are back again with one more series where agentic. That's the buzzword, right? In the industry. So we are going to talk about the agentic AI, reimagining automation with agentic AI. Basically, we are working on some of very interesting use cases. So I was just thinking this morning, what if the software doesn't just follow rules, but it could also make some smart decisions, take initiatives, adapt like a human teammate, right? I think that's what agentic is all about. Agentic AI, the next leap in the automation industry, that's what we call as agents. They don't just respond to commands, but they proactively, autonomously, intelligently accomplish the human goals just like a teammate. Today, we are going to talk about the agentic AI in IT ops specifically. I have my colleague Ravi sir. Sir, good evening, sir.
Hey, Gayathri, good evening.
So, sir, tell me about this interesting use case. Before we get into the business use case, I would like to understand from you what is your perspective about the agentic AI? What is this agentic AI all about? And let's break the norm. I mean, industry is talking about it. Let's just start from basics.
Uh, I see my general feeling about IT industry. It's very good at coming up new terms for probably the same thing which you've been doing. Yes, there is definitely a change in approach as new technologies, new standards keep coming. We probably do things in probably do the same business in different models in different ways. And probably the latest one which is on the table is agentic AI.
That means you are
Probably
saying that AI was already there in from 1950s era now, but there is some
exactly.
transformation
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
has
So
seen.
it is probably taking a feature wherein it is available as a service now. It can run autonomously. So those things, and it is probably now geared up to uh, actually work with AI engines which are in the
So
market.
how about the adoption? I think people have now started accepting that yes, bots can do job, or probably the you can have AI in your environment, in your
See,
organization for
bots were
decision.
there. Bots were there. Sorry to interrupt, but bots were there. We've been doing it. Now, probably let's there are two words which were probably uh, there and people were using it. One is AI agents and one is agentic AI. There is a small difference. Actually, it's just the X has become Y has become X. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. So when it comes to agentic AI or let's say AI agents, so we had these AI agents. Typically, those were our bots. So they
Right.
were designed and built to perform a specific task. It could be a business task, it could be an IT task, it could be a support task. Okay. Probably very specific, very dedicated jobs. That means you could, uh, so something like password reset, a very, very specific activity that every IT department does for a set of users. So you create a
Looks very
typical
simple, but actually is very critical
Yes,
because
very critical.
yeah.
Yeah. So this was something like an AI agent. Obviously, at the back end, you will use some robotic process automation tool uh, like IBM RPA or Blue Prism or any other technology which is available in the market. And this would be designed and built in such a way that it is either triggered by a user action or scheduled or based on a set of events, like an email
Correct.
hitting a mailbox. Okay. Now, this is what those typical AI agents were working. Okay. Now come in the makes the entry of the agentic AI. Now, what agentic AI tries to do is probably these things were already there. These bots or these agents were there, but made them autonomous. That means these are like small services which can be running. They can be orchestrated through
Okay.
a central layer. That means, um, so probably I have multiple such agents which can combined to run separately, or they can be made to run in a sequence or parallelly, some of them running parallelly, but autonomous. That means they can run independently. They can also be triggered through a workflow. Okay. So they are like autonomous agents, or what we call them agentic AI. That means there is some agent who is running a process, a workflow, and at the bottom of these is the small granular components like these AI agents.
Right, sir. Right.
So this is
Okay.
what, so yes, when you run them individually, they probably will perform the same thing what a normal password reset would do. But now we are taking them up to a next level. That means you can actually orchestrate an entire workflow. So you must have really looked about a product called as a Watson Orchestrate or something, which is in the market, which typically tries to uh, build a workflow around such agentic AI components or
I was just
AI agent.
actually looking at an example from a very, very layman's perspective. If you say the ticketing system that we use for booking up any tickets, if you want to raise a query, it takes us to different departments. Again, I guess that's one of the best examples for agent because it has a lot of agents inbuilt. That's the first kind of a system that probably everybody uses, and we don't know. Probably that's probably agentic AI there.
So that was a purely rule based. And then that's what I always say. AI actually started off with rule based engines, wherein there was
Right.
a set of standard rules. Based on those rules, something like you book a ticket on IRCTC. As a user, I go and book my ticket. But after that, whatever happens is rule based and triggered. That means, first of all, I get a notification with a ticket that this is your ticket on my email ID. Uh, uh, and obviously, at some point out, I will also get a reminder that this is what it is. You can actually go and opt for some kind of a refreshments or something. So all those kinds of things which can happen as part of that entire workflow. So probably booking a ticket was just one AI agent dedicated to do a particular task. But now that task coupled with a set of other tasks running autonomously or through a central agent is
Okay.
something which it can realize. Obviously, there are new standards coming into this MCP and other things, but I think that's a topic for some other discussion. So what I would really like to take you today is, I mean, not to bore people, uh, uh, take a simple case of what kind of automation we can do in IT ops.
Absolutely. So let's
So
let's get into
yeah,
it. Yeah.
so let's uh, let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Let me take it into into presentation mode. Okay, so let me get my pointer. I hope you can see my pointer as well, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So typically, let's go from the right to the left. So a typical IT department will have a set of applications
Right.
which are deployed on a set of infrastructure, which could be VMs, containers, servers, and so on. And each of these application will also have some kind of a source code, GitHub repository, or any such repository, and obviously some
Much
data
needed
associated.
one, I think.
Yes, and
Much
some
needed
data,
one for customized applications.
correct. And obviously some kind of data associated with that application. So this is what is up, I would say, an inventory of an IT department. Okay. Now,
Right, sir.
on this particular thing, I'm not getting into the development cycle of it, but what an IT ops would typically try to do with these inventory is periodically they may want to perform vulnerability assessment, a simple word called as VA.
Correct.
Typically, what it does is it identifies the vulnerabilities in the source code. Any bugs, I won't say bugs, but some kind of security flaws, some unwanted code, something which should not be there. It could
I
be
think need of the
trivial.
hour for organizations, and I think we ourselves have seen most of the organizations, they perform this thing as a very critical activity, vulnerability assessment, especially for the customized applications or whatever they have. And if something new they have developed, because this is the first entry to any foreign material into the organization. So getting the VA done is a very critical activity for organizations.
Exactly. So it is part of the governance and probably a very critical hygiene factor. Whenever a new application is built, organizations do this vulnerability assessment of that source code before they deploy it into production, just for the simple reason that it should not have any security or some critical flaws which could be exploited as a security bug and may lead to subsequent massive losses for the organization. All said and done, what happens here is when the applications are deployed for the first time, you do a VA and a PT, which is penetration testing. But once it is done, it goes live. You continuously keep on enhancing that application with periodic business updates. But nobody really bothers to do this on the set of changes which has gone into the application. Now,
And which
what
is a
happens
very
here is,
critical one.
yeah, so what happens here is, uh, as new techniques of hacking or malware or ransomware keep evolving, those have not been analyzed in the existing code because they were non-existent when the first VAPT was done. Okay. So what is important is even if the code has not changed, with the new set of threats or risk which have come up in the market, you need to periodically every quarterly do this VAPT on your existing inventory of applications. But no organization does it. Okay. They may have a tool like SonarQube which does VA. Okay. But somebody has to run that SonarQube on that source code repository, come up these reports, then send that report uh, of threats, of issues, hotspots to the development team, tell them to fix it. Once they fix it, that has to be redeployed into production. Okay. Now that never happens. Now these colored boxes are typically the tools that you will use to do that. So in this case, SonarQube I can use for VA. Nmap is a tool for PT. You can obviously, you may have a different organization standard for each of these. Now, what I really am suggesting now is not getting into this entire IT ops domain. Obviously, you may also be doing provisioning of VMs, containers. You may also be doing data ops. That means ETL and everything on your existing data sets. We just discussed about password reset. Periodically, you need to keep changing your passwords. And not to mention tickets. So people may drop a mail to their help desk, say that my machine is not working. Somebody has to take that mail, create a ticket in some kind of a ticketing system. Okay. Now all these are IT ops activities. Now, normally what used to happen is if I just take, so this is what used to happen. There were people who would perform these activities in a very manual way. Now, if I know that these activities are rule based, why don't I bring in a bot? Okay. That means whenever such a thing is requested or needed or has to be triggered time based or has to be triggered based on an event, I can tell my bot that whenever such a thing is to be done, you will do it henceforth. And my people can actually do some value added work on top of it. So instead of doing the repetitive work, my people start doing value added work. But the repetitive task like provisioning an environment or performing vulnerability assessment, doing penetration testing, generating a report file, sending it to the developer, I don't really need my IT ops to do that. Another thing is for one person to have skills across this entire domain of infra, apps, code, data, and network is very difficult. So I need to have a lot of people with lot of knowledge. And what I can do is I can have a bot wherein I can transfer that knowledge and that knowledge is retained within the bot as rules. That means I'm doing some kind of a proactive knowledge management in the organization. Okay. Now coming back to this is if I have to do this in a IT ops domain, so what I'll do is I will tell my actual IT ops admin to go through a central UI, okay, and trigger some of these activities, which is VA or PT or provisioning. They will have a very generic abstracted view. They don't need to really understand the nitty-gritties of what SonarQube works, how it generates vulnerabilities, threat analysis, and everything. How does it send the report via email and everything? All those things are not required. This guy has to just trigger it, or he has to schedule something and just keep monitoring what is happening. If something is stuck up, what kind of manual intervention he needs to do. The rest of the things, this infrastructure, this automation layer, which is probably powered with bots, runs those tasks, get the results, informs the respective stakeholders on email, also keeps a track of it in some kind of an IT ops database. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this is the overall vision. Let's get to the demo of it. Now, what I'm going to show you for the next 5-10 minutes is a simulation of how we are doing VA on a couple of projects. So I have on the right hand side project 1 and project 2. These are Python projects. I will show you how they look like when I've configured them in a tool called as SonarQube. I will share my screen of that. Okay. So this is my SonarQube, and in which I have got these two projects configured. SonarQube is running on my
Right.
server, where it is pointing to the source code of project 1 and project 2. Within project 1, there is some source objects, some Python script. And in project
Right.
2, again, there is some source code which is lying. Now, this could be your uh, online banking or core banking or any such applications which are being developed and constantly being enhanced. Now, what I want to do is I want to do VA or vulnerability assessment on these things on a periodic basis. Now, what happens is if I have to tell my IT ops guy to go and run it over here, he'll struggle because he's not used to these tools. And there will be a bundle of such tools. So you will have to really scale up trying to understand how to use this tool. Now,
That's true.
where IT ops comes into picture now is, now this is, I can actually do a BA from this tool directly. But now what I've done over here is, instead of a person getting skilled in SonarQube and actually doing a VA, generating the report, sending it to a person, what I'm doing is I'm abstracting this entire work through a central UI. So if you actually look at what I was highlighting as part of the demo is, this is my control center UI. This is what it is. So I have
Correct. This is
this. So I
Netra
have
for
project
IT.
one. Yeah, Nitra. So this is just one scenario of performing VA using an automation layer. So I'll be performing two tasks. One is running VA and the second one is getting those results to the right set of people. I'm not really getting into dropping an email or something, but what I'll do is I will show you is I'm running a VA from the central UI. So when my IT ops operator clicks a particular button, it triggers a VA on project 1 and project 2, depending on what I'm clicking. Then when he clicks the second button called as get results, my SonarQube will fetch that results, the vulnerabilities of each of these projects and show it on his UI. That means that
Sir, it's
entire tool.
I have a
Yeah.
question. Yeah, it is on a click of a button, or we can also drive these through the NLPs from the front end. I
Yes,
mean,
you can invoke them from a prompt. That means if
okay.
you have an AI engine, you can actually trigger it from a chatbot.
So
You can also
basically,
schedule it.
oh, okay. So basically, the
So the
structure
idea here
is
was you can actually run it as a scheduled job. That means
okay.
if I want to do VA every quarter, every 90 days on an application, I can just schedule it. It will just go trigger SonarQube to run on a particular repository every 90 days, capture the vulnerabilities existing in that, generate the report and email it to the development head of that particular application. In which case,
Okay.
this guy doesn't have any role. Okay. What he do is some activities can be automated, but assuming there is a new application which is coming. Okay. I may first want to configure it over here and then probably run it through this for the first time. Everything works, then I can just schedule it over here to run it every 90 days.
Right. So, which means, in a nutshell, the generative AI, which is driving the traditional AI, is basically the agentic story here.
Yes, you can use any interface. It could be a Genai interface, like a Chat GPT or a Gemini or a Watson X prompt. Okay,
Right.
and it can trigger any of these RPA bots, which is running using, say, internally using IBM RPA or any other RPA engine or even a Python script. So you may not always need a RPA bot, but yes, certain things wherein you need to actually log in into the system and pull some data. Okay, then you need an RPA bot. But all said and done, you need a proper automation layer with diverse capabilities to interact and trigger and capture data from these different tools which are running in the backend. So
Okay.
I'll quickly get back to the demo now. So this is my
Right.
UI. Now I'm going to perform, the first step I'm going to do is perform vulnerability assessment on project one. So this was my project one. Let me go back to this. This was my project one. Some code is there. Okay. This is my Python code there with some 44 lines of code. Okay. Now I am going to run VA from my central control center UI. Okay. So when I click that, it starts the VA on project one source repository. So it is now pointing to a folder called as software stroke project one, where my entire source code is downloaded. So it is running it there. So it has completed the VA because it was only one object. So probably did very fast. It took around 17 seconds to complete it. Now that VA is done. Now I can actually see the result by clicking this button. Now I don't need to click it always and see it, but when it performs VA, I can also extract the results and send it via email to the development head. But for the
Absolutely. Yes.
sake of demonstration, what I'm clicking this button is this could be a simple prompt on my Genai UI. I can say perform VA on project one. It will trigger that. And when I say show me results, it will basically show me these results. And if I say send notify development team, it will send an email of these results to this. Now what you see in the results is in a summary. So it is giving the name of the object. Okay. The line number, the severity, that means what is the bug, and the description, a short description. So the developer can understand what he needs to fix. So he will typically start fixing these and then check his code back into that repository on which I will again perform the VA. Now here I have basically classified the issues based on the terminologies used by SonarQube. So SonarQube identifies two main kind of bugs. Again, there is a criticality in each of them. So it identifies issues and security hotspots. Security hotspots are something which are very critical. Now, in this case, there is the security hotspot at line number 15. Here, there is a hard code API key. This is like a gateway into your application code, into your database. So this is a very high severity hotspot. This is a security hotspot because if anybody is able to reach, he can read this hotspot, this API key, and then he can always go back and hit it from anywhere else. So these are
Right.
something which have been detected in the code. But when I ran that VA and this view VA results, I also captured that same hotspot in a nutshell along with the line number. Now, this is something that API key detected. Make sure it is not hard coded. It is not a hard coded secret. So
Right.
this has performed a VA using an automation layer, and it has fetched the result and shown it to the user. The same thing I can do it for say project 2. So now it is started to run over here. So it is running VA on project 2. Now obviously I can schedule this to run every 90 days on all my projects. So I can have a scheduling screen in which I will configure all the projects which need to be VA'd, and we can perform VA, see the results. In this case, there are no security hotspots in the code in this project. There are some simple vulnerabilities which are okay to handle. That's it. So this is a small nutshell of what VA can be done, what kind of automation. Now, how I really design this, whether I design it very AI agent specific or agentic AI specific, I think those are all design considerations. Probably for a business or IT ops senior management, this is a small demo of how they can actually start using AI agents or agentic AI. I mean,
Thank
the
you
way
so
they
much, sir.
design.
I mean, this is a really very interesting case because I think from reactive bots, now it has become proactive partners. Because we right now in this fast moving technology where everything is changing so fast, we need agentic AI to actually do more and very faster within less span of time without micromanaging each step. And I think getting VA done to this level with the automation perspective coming into picture, this is going to be a great thing for the security team also who's managing the organization's overall security and making sure that the every all the source codes that comes in all the GitHub repositories that they have is to be monitored, and that too not just one time, in a very systematic scheduled timely way. I mean, that's the crux of this entire conversation, right, sir?
Yeah, just one thing before we close this. So when I say this automation layer, obviously it consists of bots, but these bots will be triggered when I say agentic perspective. Try now getting a bit more technical before we really wrap this up. So typically you have this concept of PRAL. That means when I run a bot, I run it in a specific perspective. And that is the terminology that all agentic AI systems work on. So one is perspective. That means understanding the data source. Okay. In this case, my data is typically the code and the Sonar Cube. So I need to understand where my data lies and what is
Correct.
expected from the data.
Right.
Then reasoning, reasoning capabilities on that. That means what exactly am I looking at it? What is it that is required in the perspective of this particular agentic AI or AI agent, I would call it. The kind of analysis I want. So when you were looking at that report of issues and hotspots, uh, and the last one is, but not the least, is the learnings. That means I capture it as learnings in some kind of a database. If and assuming if it meets my objectives or not, do I need to rerun it or not? So that PRAL, I call it the PRAL layer, that is having the right perspective, reasoning capabilities need to be there in the AI agents or agentic AI framework, analysis capabilities and learning capabilities. So as long as we have those four in that particular thing, it automatically starts classifying it as agentic AI. Uh, this is something which was probably not there in AI agents. It was there, but it was too embedded into the overall layer. So it was not really a separate layer for each of them. Now, with the advent of agentic AI, this is probably becoming more componentized. So each of this layer probably is running as a this, and you probably use a framework like a Crew AI or Pydantic or any of those agentic frameworks to make this work for you.
I
So
mean,
that's it. I
LangChain and
mean, we
all
can
those.
obviously have a detailed technical session on pure what agentic AI means, probably with a practical example. Yes, we
That
can
would
do
be
it, but this is
interesting.
something,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sir, just before we wrap up this entire session, do you, I mean, just on a closing note, do you think that bringing in the MCP concept here would drive this into a more faster way, or it's all the same? I mean, it's just different models or different ways of using the agentic perspective here.
So MCP is a standard which now everybody is adopting it. So assuming if I come up with a new agentic AI agent, now if I want a wider acceptance of that AI agent by larger organizations. So let's understand the simple perspective that earlier I used to build this and build it for my organization. But assuming I am an independent software developer and I build such AI agent, and if I want to take it to the wider community where anybody can take it and use it, I will have to use a protocol like MCP, Model Context Protocol standard, which is like a standard like REST APIs or web services, specifically for AI agents. So I can use MCP, make it as a standardized service, which can then be consumed by organizations. So that is where a standard like MCP becomes very, very critical. So I can do it in a classic uh, uh, proprietary style of deployment, but then I will not be able to tap a wider market for that same AI agent. But if I build it using an MCP standard, I expose it, I make it usable using MCP standard, then anybody can use that AI agent.
All right. So thank you so much for this technical demo and amazing stuff. I think our upcoming sessions we would talk more on this agentic AI stuff. Agentic AI is not the future. I think it's already there. We are working on it. It is solving our problems and it is also scaling up in the environment. So with this, I think we are good for today and we are closing it on a good note. We'd be coming up with more sessions on this. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Gayatri. It was fun.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.